fucking jet ski. Build a fucking house on the beach. Chillin' and go swimming with my sweetheart. Look at all this shit, think we made it. Dream of all this shit, put in the work and now we made it. My secrets hit me up though. Fuck your delusions, I got tempo. Every day's the same now. I'm fucking lost, see no way out. Keep it dark tonight. I'm on myself tonight. Hit the blunt just right. Cause he was all alive. On a fucking jet ski. Started on a waves on jet ski. Now I wanna this freak. But we are on a fucking jet ski. Build a fucking house on the beach. Chillin' and go swimming with my sweetheart. Look at all this shit, think we made it. Dream up all this shit, put in the work and now we made it. Keep it dark tonight. I'm on myself tonight. Hit the blunt just right. Cause he was all alive. Falling, 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 falling. On a fucking jet ski. Starting on a waves on jet ski.
Come to the Cave of Time.
I'll give you pleasure.
It's the Cave of Time podcast and live stream on Odyssey and elsewhere on YouTube, on BitChute.
Welcome to the Cave of Time.
Today, we're talking about the power of Antifa. We're talking about Andy Ngo's book, also known as Andy Ngo, also known as Andy N-word, also known as Andy Ngo. His book, Unmasked. Mike, you like book?
I like book. You like book? Book okay.
Book was okay. Book was okay. I was actually surprised at how well this book did on, or is doing on Amazon. It's #1 bestseller in U.S. politics. #1 bestseller.
Really?
#1 bestseller on Amazon, U.S. politics. 5-star rating with over 1,000 reviews. 4.5 stars on Goodreads.
Okay, so my opinion is shifted a little bit now. I feel like this book is overrated.
Okay, so you didn't look into that. Yeah. Well, that's how I feel too. Could you turn your gain up a little for the audience though? You're a little quiet, and I know our audience gets really mad at me because I am so nefarious and manipulative, trying to get your volume down and making myself seem louder and more alpha. Honestly, it's still. I would still like it louder.
What?
Is that max? Turn it to max.
I can turn. You want it on max? It's like this is way too much. I can hear the echo in the room, my man.
I guess it's I don't know if we had a Zoom update recently, but I've got Zoom boosted, super boosted.
It's gotta be here. It's gotta be here. This has gotta be good.
Okay, what I'm gonna do for the audience is turn down my mic. So y'all are gonna have to turn up your speakers, and then me and Mike will be on it. Here we go. So I think we're around the same now. Oh fuck! I think I gotta go lower. Jesus. All right.
Check.
All right, here we go. We're live. It's the Cave of Time live stream and podcast. These are the trials and tribulations of a live stream, but here we are. So yeah, the book is actually doing very well commercially.
Really?
So did you look into the reviews at all though?
I did not. I watched some Q&A stuff and I saw him kind of on the circuit, I guess, as you would say, doing some interviews, but I didn't look at any
So
reviews. I just
when you
finished reading it
when
this
you have a
morning.
#1 bestseller on a platform like Amazon, Amazon has something like 83% of the market share of book sales in the United States. You would think that there would be a lot of mainstream reviews of that book, wouldn't you, Mike?
Yeah, you would think like maybe the Daily Beast will write about it or
Yeah.
the
So
New
I
York
mean,
Times
I
or the
struggled.
Washington Post.
I went through the first 3 or 4 pages of a Google search, Andy Ngo Unmasked review. I found one mainstream media review, and I'm assuming that there are no others because, as you know, platforms like Google like to promote the mainstream sources and whatnot. Um, do you want me to read you some excerpts from the Yahoo News review of his
Yeah,
book?
yeah.
So this is how it opens. There is an alternate universe out there in which we never have to ponder, let alone read, Unmasked. Provocateur Andy Ngo's supremely dishonest new book on the left-wing anti-fascist movement known as Antifa.
What?
In that other world, far, far away, Marjorie Taylor Greene remains a nutty CrossFit enthusiast from Georgia, not a member of Congress, and we know nothing of her musings on Jewish space lasers, the execution of Democrats, or false flag school shootings. And I will note that they did not use the Oxford comma in that sentence, which is a shame. But yeah, this review closes off actually. If I might scroll down to the bottom. Unmasked will do no more to help Americans understand Antifa. And by the way, I want to talk about pronunciation, but then Borat helped us understand Kazakhstan. It is simply a cudgel for Trumpists to swing whenever they need to obscure their own complicity in events like the Capitol riot, which Ngo was forced to admit had not been conducted by Antifa. So, I mean, we have a taste for what the mainstream perspective on this book is.
But I mean, it's just one article. I'm sure somebody will like it. Like we're talking about
But there,
five-star book on
there are
Goodreads.
but there are no others. There are no others. What can you do?
This book's been out for 3 weeks too. It's not like it's.
Yeah, we're a
It's
little
not
we're a
like it
little
just
late.
came out yesterday.
We're a
Yeah,
little
we're
late to the
kinda late.
party. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and it's his first book. That's so weird. Like I don't think of this book as controversial like at all.
Not at all.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, not really. Not really. I mean, it seems like something that will do well with the IDW crowd, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was a contributor for Quillette for a while.
Well, yeah.
The IDW
Yeah.
stronghold. So I guess we should get into what is Antifa, Mike. Do you know what Antifa is?
Yeah, man. It just if you're Antifa, that just means you're against fascism. You're an
Yeah,
anti-fascist.
exactly.
That's all it means.
Exactly.
I'm Antifa. You're Antifa. Everyone
Yeah.
in Star Trek was Antifa.
Yeah, and we're all pro-life.
Yeah.
Everyone
exactly.
everyone in America is pro-life.
Indiana Jones was pro-life and Antifa. Spaceballs, that's Antifa. Everything you like is Antifa. And everything you hate is Fa.
And we appreciate, pride in oneself. So we all appreciate the Proud Boys, obviously, too, because they're just proud boys.
Yeah, that's why that's why the gays appropriated that, and it's fine. Nobody
Exactly.
minds.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's
That's totally
no
cool.
no contradictions, no strife happening. But on a real tip, let's get our Wikipedia glasses on, Mike.
All right.
So what is Antifa? It's a left-wing extremist movement that violently opposes groups considered as quote-unquote fascist, including democratic center-right conservatives. So it's people they think are fascist. It's a leaderless movement with limited overarching organization. And rather than policy reform, they aim to achieve their goals by direct action, including violent action. And this is open among some of the figureheads in the movement. They pressure venues to deny quote-unquote white supremacists, people they think are white supremacists. They pressure venues to deny those people spaces to meet. They pressure employers to fire them, landlords to evict them, and when people they deem to be racist, fascist, etc., manage to assemble, They try to break up the gatherings, including by force. Do you remember, Mike, a famous, possibly one of the more famous than Floyd Mayweather punches, more famous than Conor McGregor punches? There was a punch. There was a punch that happened in recent years.
Oh, was it a donkey punch?
Something of the sorts. Depending on truth is subjective, obviously, and depending on what species you think the person who's punched was, it might have been a donkey punch.
Was it a sucker punch?
Well, I sent you a video right now. Do you want to pull that up? And I'm going to pull that up for the audience.
Sure.
So, this is the Richard Spencer punch that happened. I think it was 2016. Might have been 2017. So I'm pulling that up for the audience, and this went viral. A lot of remixes, a lot of people taking artistic liberties with the footage. We're gonna play this little clip right now, Mike. You ready?
Do it.
All right, starting now.
Neo-Nazis don't love me. They kind of hate me, actually.
KKK, neo-Nazi.
Those people don't like me, to be honest.
So there's some text on the screen just talking about who Richard Spencer is on the screen.
Their version of the neo-Nazi movement.
It's Pepe's become kind of a symbol.
And then there's the punch, and it's getting repeated over and over again to the beat.
That's a pretty bad punch.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, his ear was ringing for days.
So out of nowhere, not expecting that. That fucking sucks.
All right, so you get the picture. For the audio audience, it's just, them repeating this punch over and over again. How about we look down to the comments, the top comments? Now I want the 10 hours version of Spencer getting punched. Next one. We must use violence against Nazis.
No.
It is our self-defense before they exterminate us based on race. He did not see that coming. This is literally the greatest thing. And it just goes on and on and on. That's what the comments are. This was a hugely viral moment in American culture, perhaps the culture of the West at large. I was taken off guard when this happened. I did not see it coming. I did not think that people would be so gleeful and so joyous. Especially respectable people. Respectable people loved this video. They loved that this happened. And I, at that time in my life, I was a little shocked at the public response. What do you think about this video, Mike, and the happenings there?
I remember feeling the same. And it was like, that must have been right after Trump got elected or right before or something. I
think it was right after, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. It was just like one of the many slips where I remember thinking like, I didn't realize left-wing people were like into this. I thought this was more like right-wing people that were into this. And I remember kind of like this cloud clearing where I saw things more clearly and I was like, wow, okay, so this is what it looks like when the other side is into violence. Yeah,
Yes.
It was very confusing and disorienting for the first like few instances of this.
Yes, so for both you and I, fractures along the lines of the skeletons of the political worldviews that we held.
Yeah, because I mean, I always thought of like left-wing protests as like holding signs and getting pepper sprayed in the face and like just kind of peaceful demonstrations or like women crying about things and whining and complaining and then getting like beat up by the cops and dragged off. You didn't think about like left-wing kind of violent militias roaming around punching people.
Yeah, and so like these tactics, they've actually had substantial support by the mainstream left in the media and in like the United States at large. So let me just go further with this. When a masked Antifa member punched Spencer in that video, there was a piece in The Nation that described the punch as an act of, quote, kinetic beauty. Slate ran an approving article about humorous piano ballad that glorified the assault. Twitter obviously was inundated with viral versions of the video set to different songs. One of which we just listened to. That video, by the way, has 125K views. A former Obama speechwriter, John Favreau, tweeted, "I don't care how many different songs you set to Richard Spencer being punched. I'll laugh at every one."
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so fucking weird. But I mean, like now, I think things are so different now. Like if that happened today, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, same with me. Things have definitely the way that I see the world has changed a bit as well.
I think the world has changed a bit, to be honest. Like I don't think
Yeah.
it's just the way we looked at it.
Yeah.
I think, like compare that to the kind of protests you saw by the left before. You know that meme of that like fat cop like pepper spraying someone in the face.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was a
It's
left-wing
a-
protest.
That was a funny. That video was more funny though. You just had this fat guy walking around.
Okay, but left-wing people don't like that we like that. Oh, so it's okay for that poor kid to get pepper sprayed in the face, but Nazis getting punches isn't funny?
Well, I think one of the reasons why I find that video funny is that it's very impersonal and nondescript. You have this fat guy, and you've got like a riot mask kind of covering his face. You can't really see the guy. It's just this kind of like King of Queens fat guy, King of Queens fat guy, just moseying about nonchalantly spraying this like industrial bear spray can in these people's faces, and you can't see the people. You can't see the people either. They're just zip tied and huddled, like, and not really even moving, just taking it. So it's a lot more impersonal, I think, and that's one of the reasons why I can find that video humorous.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm laughing, but it like when it happened, I was like, "Holy
Yeah.
shit, that's fucked."
Yeah, I mean, and generally, I would say things like pepper spray don't cause permanent damage, but we might get into something later where there is speculation that these things can cause some permanent damage. But
Well, what about like the Occupy Wall Street movement? And it was just so kind of pathetic, you know, to have everybody outside huddled in tents, and they're like, "We're gonna sleep outside in tents until you change the economy," right in front of all the richest Wall Street fucking millionaires in New York, and all of them are just like, I don't give a shit if you're in the tent. Like I'm going up to the top of this building to go make $100,000 today. I don't give a fuck about you.
so you don't think that that struck fear in the hearts of anybody at the top of the pyramid?
You think I think things would have gone a lot differently if they started punching bankers.
Oh yeah, indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. But you
Yeah.
brought up on previous podcasts that you thought that there was some I guess validity to it, and you thought that there was a movement to divide things based on race since then.
Yeah, I think the cause of Occupy Wall Street was founded more in something practical and honest than what like Black Lives Matter and Antifa and stuff is founded in. This is like I mean, you read Andy Ngo's book. He's pretty on the ball with like Antifa's. The point of Antifa is not to fight fascists. The point of Antifa is to dismantle capitalism, right? It's just the military wing of far left communists, socialists, whatever, however they identify, like the far left, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, so there are criticisms that he is taking kind of the most extreme interpretations of Antifa, and he's not acknowledging that there's kind of a variety of perspectives within the larger movement. But there are certainly people within Antifa that are not uncommon who wish to dismantle capitalism. Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? So, like, I think that's why there's so much sympathy for Antifa, because it's not like this uniform group of people who are like, okay, guys, this is what we absolutely believe in 100%. This is what we're going to do. This is the direction. Like, it's scattered and unorganized seemingly. And like it's like terrorist formation of cells, right? It's got that kind of hierarchy where
Yeah, definitely,
they're
definitely
loosely tied together.
Definitely somewhat. I mean, so this is coming from influencewatch.org. It's kind of a response to what you're saying right now. While the decentralized nature of Antifa makes it difficult to identify how they operate, an excerpt from a widely disseminated guide for new Antifa organizations published by It's Going Down describes Antifa operations and expectations Antifa members are obliged to meet. Have you heard of It's Going Down before, Mike?
I think I've seen posters for It's Going Down. Are they
Yeah.
Portland?
I don't know. I think they're kind of national, perhaps international. It's a
Okay.
somewhat popular Antifa blog, and popular enough that I've heard of them without even looking into it. So take that for what it's worth. They have a lot of kind of bullet points for what Antifa's obligations include. I do kind of actually want to go over all of them because I think it paints actually a robust picture, if you will. It's a little lengthy. Yeah, I'll get into it, and you can stop me at any point. So number 1, track white nationalist, far right, and fascist activity. Your group will be expected to document fascist groups and organizing in your area. This means gathering information on who is doing what and knowing the makeup and key players of the various groups that are active. Once information is verified, Antifa groups periodically release this information, aka doxing, in a publicly available format.
Verified.
It is also crucial to alert any intended targets about specific threats that you encounter while doing research. So that's point 1. Point 2. Oppose public far-right organizing. If the Klan or the National Socialist Movement hold a public rally, if alt-right speakers come to town, or if the Daily Stormer holds a meetup, you will be expected to organize a counter-demonstration. If they hold postering or sticker campaigns, you should not only take down their materials, but put up your own. Public outreach campaigns should likewise be countered. That's number 2. Number 3. Support other anti-fascists who are targeted by fascists or arrested for Antifa-related activities. This could include supporting regional groups or organizing benefits and fundraisers for prisoners and injured comrades. Number 4, build a culture of non-cooperation with law enforcement. If you have any intention of working with the police, FBI, or other agencies, or if you publicly condemn anti-fascists who break the law, don't call yourself an anti-fascist. Or if you
That's
publicly
a pretty extreme one, I would say.
yeah, it is. Well, it's no snitching, right?
Well, it's not just no snitching. It's like, we don't want the law to work at all. Like, we don't want it to work.
Well,
Even if
I mean
it's
that
in our favor, like that's like something like you'd expect the fucking Bloods and the Crips to say.
yes. Well, it does finish off with their their rationale for that. The cops will be Trump supporters. Do not collaborate with them, which is funny considering the reactions that we've seen.
They're not Trump supporters.
And we know, like, you look at the law enforcement reaction, both local and federal, to the Capitol riots, the January 6th Capitol riots, and compare that to pick the most violent, destructive protests within Antifa and Black Lives Matter. It does not. It's in a different stratosphere.
Yeah, I mean, these are the people they let run the Capitol Hill building or whatever, the Capitol Hill section of Portland. Where they just had their Chaz Autonomous Zone for how long did they have it? 6 weeks or something?
And law enforcement stood down and allowed them to do that. And in fact, they received some forms of government funding.
They they just got weapons. They were sold weapons from Israel. They gave them to
Space lasers.
Space lasers. Jewish space lasers.
All right, moving on. We strongly recommend against Antifa groups being organized using the open, public model of most contemporary activism because of the risk of infiltration. A traditional mass organization activist model should be kept separate from the long-term group structure. Take photos with Antifa banners, blur the faces, and put them on social media. Carefully manage...
ISIS.
Yeah. Carefully manage your online presence using... This is kind of weird to me. Carefully manage your online presence using only Twitter. New members are urged to leave social media. Individual members, when possible, should get
probably
off...
sponsored by Twitter. Like Jack
Yeah.
got an hit.
Oh, fuck.
So he's like, okay, I'm gonna give you guys $100 billion, but you only can manage it in Twitter. Every time you talk about social media, don't talk about Instagram, don't talk about Facebook.
Would it shock you to your core? It wouldn't shock me to mine.
It wouldn't shock. I mean, if it was $10 billion, yeah. But if it was like, if you found out that Jack Dorsey had a cousin that was in Antifa,
Well,
like,
obviously
deep or something,
10 billion, but we already know we've covered in previous episodes the millions that he's given to BLM organizations,
Yeah,
which
if
are
you- if you-
is a
yeah.
sister organization to Antifa.
he probably openly supports Antifa. Like,
Let's-
there's no way he's.
Let's take a break right now because I keep on saying Antifa. So people used to, I remember hearing coverage and people used to say Antifa, and to me it looks like Antifa. I used to be a fan of a record label back in the day that was called Anticon, Anticon. Anticon is actually a word that is actually pronounced Anticon as well.
Or like
And for some reason,
antithetical.
and the first time I'd ever heard anybody say Antifa was Trump in a speech, and I was like, okay, he's trying to do some like quirky thing that just catches people's attention because he's doing something off the wall. But that has somehow since stuck. And even in the book that we've just read, Unmasked, it explicitly says that the organization is pronounced Antifa. I don't like that. It sounds kind of stupid to me, but I guess I'll go with it. I'm sorry that I've been saying Antifa. I'll try to say Antifa in the future. It sounds like some
mean,
kind
it's
of
great
Mexican bread or something, Mexican flatbread.
It does. But when they get their like merch, they can have T-shirts.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true. That's not bad.
Right?
That's not bad.
Yeah,
yeah,
get your T-shirts.
yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to go with steep tea, but it's not working. Yeah, there's other things you can do with
Your
that.
tea
Yeah.
leaves.
yeah, exactly.
Tea leaves.
All right. Well,
What's next on the
moving
rules?
on. Yeah. So carefully manage your online presence using only Twitter. New members are urged to leave social media. Individual members, when possible, should get off social media, especially Facebook, altogether. Where they don't, they should maintain strictly separate personal and political accounts. Websites imply that your group is more legitimate and should be used especially if you want to dox local fascists. Consider using a cell model in which one member meets with others when required, and where one person is designated as the semi-public face, even if they never admit they are a group member, thus limiting the overall group's exposure. Dox identified opponents and make their personal contact information widely available in order to encourage harassment. Regular
Hey, does this not starting to sound like a cult to like any normal fucking human being? Like, stop talking to your family and friends. Don't look at their photos. Stop getting the news from the internet. Disappear completely on your social media presence.
I don't
If
think
you
so.
still-
You are like this is what you just said is nothing like what's being said here.
Man, like to pull out of social media to encourage people to pull out of it right now, like that's pretty extreme, to be honest. Most normal people participate in social media, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're just saying keep strictly separate personal and private
And then
accounts.
they're like, look and seek out right-wing radicalism, write everything down, get
Yeah.
people's names and addresses,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
bully them, harass them every time you get an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and you
don't
have
talk to the police.
you have mainstream political figures within the United States saying things just like that.
But could you not like pull out a few words and insert other words, and this would be Scientology? Don't you think?
Yeah, but I mean, you could say the same thing about Christianity. You could say the same thing about.
Okay, fine. Then okay, sure. It sounds like religious almost. It sounds like a bunch of people who are joining a religion or something like that.
Yeah,
it just
well,
seems more cult-like.
they're very passionate and they are, trying to operate outside of scrutiny. So yeah, they're a little secretive and they're taking measures to curb any kind of attacks against them. So it kind of makes sense. But moving on, regular martial arts training is recommended. Find out what the laws are in your city and state about a variety of self-defense weapons and make sure to practice with and carry everything that is legal. And finally, pressure venues to cancel racist or fascist events.
No.
So these are the methods and goals stated by one of the most popular Antifa blogs on the internet.
I don't know. It just like I don't understand Just from that, like if you can go and find that easily, I don't understand how there's so much mainstream support for Antifa. Like that
Well,
seems to be very extreme for a regular person.
if you support their causes, this is the if you share their worldview and support their causes, this is the rational uh, corollary. Corollary. This is the rational next step to that.
I don't think so. I don't think like any normal centrist would be.
But these aren't normal centrists. That's the point. Normal centrists
Yeah.
do not share their worldview, their ideology.
What do you have any like stats on? I mean, forget about it. It's not. It's not. It doesn't even matter. But fuck, like, I'm just so perplexed by like the general acceptance of Antifa and the kind of things you hear just from normal people. They're
Yeah.
nothing to worry about. Oh, you're just anti-fascist. That's all you are. You're just
Yeah,
against
yeah,
fascism.
yeah.
They've never killed anybody, Jason. They don't. They're just defending themselves. Those are the people that stand up for the little guy or whatever. They just beat up racists.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I've been in places. I've been in places where like someone came up to me. We're in New Orleans, and somebody came. You weren't with me. I was by myself there for a bit, and someone came up to me and was like, "Don't worry, man. Someone said, hey, did you hear the Proud Boys are coming to town?" And I was like, "Oh no, I didn't hear." And who are the Proud Boys? Like, I've heard of them, but I don't really know anything about them. Oh, they're these like white nationalist racists. I was like, "Oh, really? That's crazy." And they're like, "Don't worry, Antifa's here, man. We've got you." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
And then
didn't
I
mean
was
that
there
a
with you, and we were looking like, could we find out where they're like? Could we go wherever they're going? It was like some secret event attended by 10 people. Like it was not even a
It's a
thing.
birthday party
Yeah,
for one of their kids.
It was essentially a private gathering. There was probably birthday cake involved, maybe at someone's house. And that's what it was. And there was a citywide kind of counter organization to this.
Yeah, like a manhunt. They're handing out flyers about it to
Yeah.
anti-protest.
So
don't know.
Andy Ngo wrote this book. What do you know about Andy Ngo?
Well, I mean, he's a young guy. He's like probably around our age, so young for this much success going his
Yeah,
way for sure.
yeah.
I didn't really have a high opinion of him, to be honest. He's a journalist, and I felt like kind of capitalize. Like he even says in his book, like you're not supposed to insert yourself in the story as a journalist, but I had no choice, basically, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of felt like I wouldn't say he's a grifter, but I kind of felt like he's definitely riding on the coattail. Like I don't think he would have been famous if he didn't get milkshaked that day.
Oh no, that was as far as his career goes, that was the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
why
I
don't you define why don't you explain what happened there?
Yeah, so I mean, he would have. I guess he's from Portland, and he was just following around Antifa on this regular protest that they're having, and they knew who he was somehow. And he had written in Colette about them, and I guess he'd already doxed some of them or something, or he'd already been investigating them and writing negative things about them. Somebody pointed him out, and he got like punched in the head. He got a milkshake with like cement, maybe not, thrown at him. They stole his camera and beat him up. And that was like, that got him interviews with like Fox News, Tucker Carlson, probably Sean Hannity at the time. Like maybe 4 or 5 major news organizations picked it up and started interviewing him.
No.
But I mean, my understanding is like Antifa does that all the time to all sorts of people.
Yeah, and especially when you go through the book, it's crazy how many instances he just kind of throws out there of assaults, robberies, beatings, killings, and because one of the things that you often hear is like there's never been a murder or killing committed by Antifa, and I mean, depending on what your rationale is, what you're defining as responsibility, there have been many.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so obvious. Like we did when we first started the podcast, we did the covering of Minneapolis. And we're watching Antifa like just fucking rip people's head, like just line up and boot people in the face.
Yeah.
setting fire to buildings, like emptying a fire extinguisher in someone's face.
Emptying a fire extinguisher in someone's face. This is a really funny thing to me. There's a somewhat viral video that took place in one of the BLM Antifa riots. I believe that was outside of a Target. There was an old woman who was trying to prevent the looters from looting. And
in a wheelchair.
In a wheelchair.
Mobile wheelchair.
And she got assaulted. She got hit with a fire extinguisher. I don't believe they actually used the cylinder of the fire extinguisher as a weapon, but they sprayed her down with it and whatnot. Is my memory correct on that?
Yeah, I think so. She did get like hit though, like physically hit, and like
oh yeah,
I think choked her and pulled her around. They started ripping her bag away.
It's a pretty brutal video. I like the contrast here because what we had with the Capitol riot, the central point to what made this so evil and so despicable and so clearly something that every person, Mike, Jason, and Sally, can empathize with is that we had Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick die because he was strucken and bludgeoned to death with a fire extinguisher by inhumane rioters who wanted to overthrow our democracy. Right, Mike?
Yeah, that's what happened. Exactly.
So, Democratic House impeachment managers, these were the prosecutors in the Senate trial to impeach Donald Trump. They said that the insurrectionist, quote, the insurrectionist killed a Capitol Police officer by striking him in the head with a fire extinguisher. This is a quote from the impeachment trials. So recently, the FBI director, Christopher Wray, testified before a Senate Judiciary Committee. And what do you know what he said, Mike, about Officer Sicknick and his death?
I have no idea, man. I have not been following that at all.
Okay, because Sicknick was cremated a long time ago now. This attack was now months ago. So the autopsy has long since been done. All the studying and everything that they could possibly be doing has been done. It has been said that there was no evidence of blunt force trauma, Mike. And
where did he die from?
So, well, interestingly enough, after the January 6th riots, he texted, I believe, his brother and several other people, said that he was doing okay, everything was okay. And it was actually later that he died. And the Senate was questioning Christopher Wray, the FBI director. So this guy has been a centerpiece for a media firestorm that has charged up political direction within the United States proper and the West at large. Why did Officer Sicknick die? The FBI director refused to say anything about the cause of death.
Why? What? Why? Why? What's the end game?
Your guess is as good as mine, Mike.
I don't know.
So Mike. I just want to highlight this because there's also been many stories in the news about officers that have been dying of suicide since the riots, who were the Capitol Police members who were dying from suicide, and this is tangentially pinned on the Capitol riots themselves. The only confirmed deaths that were direct results of the riots were that of protesters.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say it's not like nobody died because that girl got shot in the neck, right? She
Got
was
brutally shot in the neck. Yeah.
Yeah.
And funny enough, in the same Senate hearing, Christopher Wray, the FBI director, said that there was zero evidence that Antifa had any participation. Zero evidence that Antifa had any participation in the riots. Now we have
in which riots? The Capitol riots?
The Capitol riots, yes.
Yeah.
Now we have. I'm gonna pull something up for the audience here.
Yeah, but let's not act like the Capitol riots weren't violent. They were totally violent.
Oh well, nobody's saying they weren't.
Yeah.
So we've got anti-Trump Capitol rioters sold his footage for $35,000 to NBC and CNN. Accused Capitol rioter John Sullivan sold video footage he recorded at the January 6th siege to NBC and CNN for $35,000 each. So he made $70,000 on his footage. This is the guy who filmed the popular Ashley Babbitt footage. A self-styled anti-Trump activist who they allege infiltrates protests to cause chaos and record video footage. So Sullivan helped one of the rioters scale a wall leading up to an entrance to the Capitol, an affidavit alleges. As he recorded footage inside the building, Sullivan allegedly said, "We gotta get this shit burned." He further went on, "It's our house, motherfuckers. We're gonna get this shit." So this is anti-Trump guy who was infiltrating the crowd, egging people on, and filming video. He filmed video of the most famous death that was actually proven to be a direct result of the riots, Ashley Babbitt. And the FBI director refuses to give a reason of death for Sicknick, Officer Sicknick, the brave and heroic police officer who died in the line of duty protecting our democracy, apparently, allegedly. And in the same Senate hearing, he says there's zero evidence of any Antifa infiltration. We have the New York Post.
Allegedly, though, like allegedly he died, or allegedly he was like did die protecting our democracy.
He did. He died. He died well after texting his family that he was doing fine.
Yeah, all right, but he's still like, okay. I mean, sure. He coincidentally died afterwards. I mean, is that true? I thought he just died from his injuries in the hospital.
No. So nobody really knows why he dies right now because the FBI is refusing to say. There has been speculation for people, sympathetic to the left that say like, well, we think he might have been bear maced, and how I mentioned earlier that sometimes these things can do permanent damage and can be lethal. So there's speculation that maybe there was 12 hours later complications due to being maced that he died from. But
they gave him an autopsy, and they know the answer and just won't tell us.
Oh yeah, well I would think that if that was the case, they would release that information.
Yeah, okay. And then so go on about this guy. He's sold his tapes for $70,000, 2 tapes. He's in the crowd. Nobody knows who this guy is, or he's been identified as.
Oh yeah, he's been identified. I've got his picture up on the screen for the live viewers.
So is he identified as Antifa, or is that what you're getting at, or no?
Well, he's BLM. He says he's not necessarily Antifa. So this is a quote from him. "I was worried about people recognizing me and thinking that I was Antifa or like BLM or whatever. The entire time they're yelling, 'Fuck Antifa, fuck BLM.' I'm not saying I'm Antifa by any means, but I definitely believe Black Lives Matter."
Okay. So he's not in like a cell or anything.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Ngo goes into this in the book about how closely related BLM and Antifa are. They're very similar actually. It's almost more where they throw their focus as opposed to what the actual worldviews are as far as like the core members of the organizations.
Yeah. And all those girls that started BLM, they're all into the same kind of literature, the far left, communist, Marxist stuff.
Yeah.
So they've got their same origins, for sure. And the tactics.
Wait. No, I would disagree with that. What do you mean they have the same? Antifa's origins go back to, I think it was before Hitler's Germany.
Yeah. But it's a counter. They have the same origins as like the militant wing to far left politics.
And critical theory.
Yeah, and critical theory. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so, like there's a slight difference there. Like BLM doesn't want to completely dismantle the system. They just want to rebuild it with themselves on top. Or as equals.
Yeah. Like are you saying it's kind of like a
black supremacist group?
Oh no, what is that country in Black Panther? Wakanda. It's kind of like Wakanda, eh?
Yeah, it's kind of like Wakanda. Well, fucking the branding that these guys have is just so good. It's so on point compared to right-wing political groups. Like you look at Black
The
Lives
branding
Matter.
Antifa has.
Oh, totally, man. Just the propaganda and the names are so good. Like Black Lives Matter. How you gonna
Oh
argue with
yeah,
that?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, anti-fascists, like, and then like look at the other like Patriot Prayer or the Proud Boys. You know, like their branding's terrible by
I don't
comparison.
think so. I think like I kind of made that joke earlier. Like, what? Like you don't agree with Black Lives Matter? You could say like, what? You don't believe boys should be proud?
Yeah, exactly. Boys shouldn't be proud. And what are you proud of? Western civilization? Western civilization is terrible.
Yeah, I mean that's just due to the cultural framing that we are inundated with, and that would not change. There is no way to effectively brand in the same way that Black Lives Matter is branded in that sense.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. They've totally taken advantage of it. And it's, I mean, it's the IDW talks about this all the time. How like the right wing kind of knows clearly where they draw the lines, and you see mainstream right wing figures immediately disavow anybody who goes too far right. Whereas like the left kind of blurs into far left from
yeah.
center left.
Which
the blur,
which
it's
which is a huge mistake strategically for the right wing.
yeah, it's a huge advantage to the left wing, and well, it's a disadvantage in some ways, but overall as a movement, it to push things left in general, it's a huge advantage.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I think we're gonna see now that Antifa, doesn't have Trump around to go after. Who are they gonna go after? They're gonna go after Biden, right?
Yeah, and Biden's gonna strike back.
Well, I mean, yeah, he totally could, and I think Black Lives Matter will probably try to distance themselves from BLM from Antifa in the future.
You think? How are they gonna do
Yeah.
that?
Well, I think they're gonna because if Black Lives Matter now we know is a huge powerhouse politically, right? After the last 4 years of fundraising, like we know they've got hundreds of millions of dollars sitting around like ready to go, and they need to justify spending it somewhere, right? So they're gonna what are they gonna spend it on? Consolidating their power and staying relevant and keeping the organization going and keeping as many people on the payroll as possible. That's what they're going to try and do, as any organization would. You're super organized, you got a ton of money. What are you going to try and do? We're going to try and solidify our power and expand, just like any business, right? So what are they going to do when Antifa starts going after Joe Biden, blah, 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 blah? They're going to paint themselves as the more reasonable option. Hey, look, we're willing to talk to Joe Biden. We're willing to sit down at the table with Kamala Harris. We just want to be heard. We want to have our voices heard, blah, blah,
Now,
blah, blah,
Mike,
blah,
I
blah.
don't know if you've looked at the black unemployment numbers since Joe Biden has taken office, but in fact, while they were touted as a selling point for the Trump administration, they are not doing so well anymore. They are not something that could any longer be touted. In fact, while the unemployment rate is dropping across all other demographics, it's actually staying stagnant, or if not dropped, or if not rising for Black Americans. So why would BLM side with the Biden administration?
Well, I don't think they'll do it because they think the Biden administration will be good for them. I just envision a situation in the future where Antifa makes things look bad optically, and then Black Lives Matter to kind of solidify power will just kind of disavow them. Because Antifa's also totally white, right? Like Antifa's not run by black people. It's run by white people. So they could easily just say, like, look, they don't represent black interests. They don't care about black people. These guys are just, violent thugs. We never believed in anything that they believe in. We've always been concerned about, protecting black bodies.
That's a tough nut to crack. I don't know. Anything's possible. I mean, it obviously is nonsensical on the face of it, but nonsensical things often fly. So
Well,
you might be right.
if I'm putting together my my fantasy political football team, like those are the
Wait,
picks I'm
so
taking.
you got D. Ray McKesson like as quarterback?
Oh yeah. Like, I'll take Sean King. I'll get
yeah?
D-Ray McKesson. I'll get
Damn.
what's the girls, the three lesbians who started BLM?
Oh, I don't remember their names, but yeah, I know who you're talking
give
about.
me the girl that made 13. The girl, the Netflix special girl who works who's on Oprah all the time.
I don't know who
She
you're
made
talking
that
about, but you want
she made
Spike
that
Lee too,
documentary.
obviously.
Yeah, I definitely want Spike Lee, but I want that girl who made the Central Park 5 documentary. Like, I want her.
And you want the like first popular trans actor from Orange Is the New Black. You want that girl as well. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and I'm not picking up
So all
anybody
your
in
your
Antifa.
your fantasy football team is all black everything.
Oh baby, all black all the time. Like I got LeBron for sure. I
Black
got
gold. You
LeBron.
got LeBron.
Well, I mean,
Jeez, you're going
well, I
all
gotta pick
in.
him up. I gotta pick him up. I mean, we're gonna have the draft. We should do the draft.
We should do the
next
draft,
episode.
the racial draft.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, not the racial draft. It's not a racial draft. It's nothing to do with race. It's just who do you want? Like, who are your political guys?
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the
It's
year,
the
like, every time-
socio-political draft.
Yeah, the socio-political draft. And so, like, I don't know, we'll come up with our draft where we each get like 10 or 20, whatever it is. And then every time their name comes up in the news, you get points or something.
Okay, yeah. So we could do that by Google Trends. We could do that by if they have their own website, we could do Alexa rankings on their websites.
Yeah, Alexa rankings or like hashtags or whatever.
Yeah.
Like trending hashtags on Twitter.
But like, so in that sense that we're saying even bad publicity is good publicity, like any publicity is good publicity because in that sense, like you could.
No,
you
we'd
could-
have to like chalk it up as either a win or a loss. So like if I get Sean King and then like Sean King becomes persona non grata.
Well, yeah, if you
and he's
rape
all over-
someone and he's all over the news,
Yeah,
like yeah.
Then it's like boom! Oh,
Yeah.
Mike just lost 80 points on the fucking on the spread. Like,
Okay, yeah, we could try to do that.
Yeah, we gotta
Yeah.
come up with some ranking system or something. But yeah, man, like for the next 4 years, I think Antifa is gonna go hard against Biden, and I think Black Lives Matter is gonna try and get more mainstream.
I think some of the moneyed interests that have undeniably been behind funding in these various organizations
Yeah.
will not be funding. You know, I could get more conspiratorial and kind of think that maybe they would be pushing that even further, but I would assume that they would not be funding anti-Biden activities.
I think they will be funding Black Lives Matter stuff, but I don't think they'll be funding Antifa stuff. Like just by the nature of Antifa, who it is, it's like they can't reach out for government funding. But from the nature of Black Lives Matter, they totally can, right?
I mean, they can reach out for funding. They've had a lot of funding. Andy Ngo talks about some of the funding that they've received in his book.
Yeah, I was talking about like the lesbian theory textbooks that are
yeah.
sold in the bookstore.
So there's that,
exclusively.
but if nothing, crowdfunding there's something to be said for that too.
Yeah, he was talking about the family. That guy died, and then like all the money for his GoFundMe didn't go to the family. Like it went to basically Antifa.
Beautiful thing. So we were talking about kind of the head of the pyramid as far as both organizations, BLM and Antifa, are concerned. Critical theory. That's essential. It's central to Antifa ideology.
Yeah.
So this is an ideology where social problems are influenced and created more by societal structures and cultural assumptions than by individual and psychological factors. So it's more by like the reason, one group of person is suffering, it's more due to the society that they inhabit than due to the individual choices of the people comprising that group. And the adherents of cultural theory seek to liberate human beings from the circumstances that enslave them. So it's the circumstances that enslave them. It's not their, personal choices.
I think there's huge support for that in
Yeah.
society today.
Oh yeah. I
And
mean,
I
this
think
is
some of
taught.
it's
This is
justified.
taught to kids in schools.
Well, I think some of the sentiment is justified. And Andy Ngo talks about this a bit too. Like young people, especially, are realizing that capitalism isn't really working out well for them.
Yeah,
Not as well as it did for the generations that came before them, right?
indeed.
Yeah. So I mean, if capitalism wants to survive, like they're gonna have to figure out how to get the middle class back up and running.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Well, yeah, I mean, not necessarily, but I mean, if they want, like, one way to kind of get people to not care about these kind of movements would be to have them all have, families and jobs and good employment and like meaningful things to do.
Or to give them Netflix, pornography, and junk food.
Well, I mean, they'll still be upset about everything, but they'll just be too fat to do anything about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so this is a theory that it sees as a problem that there are more men than women in STEM fields, and this is not due to any kind of biological factors. This is due to the historical plight and an elusive oppressive patriarchy that women face.
Yeah. If you're interested, please go read Gad Sad and everything he's ever said.
Or attend a public school and you're saying okay, but yeah, if you want to learn more about how it has nothing to do with biology, attend a public school. And so I would say that media and academia are more often than not, or at least very often, sympathetic to Antifa. At worst, sympathetic. And very often, documented cases, Andy Ngo gets into some. And this is one of the problems that I actually had with this book. I have a couple problems with this book, but one of them is, he listed like an academic. I think it was a professor at an Ivy League university who beat someone in the head with a bike lock. Yes.
Yeah.
And then Andy Ngo goes on to say, and this isn't the only time an academic has been involved in Antifa. Yeah, it's not the only time. Like what do you mean that's not the only time? Like, it's like, you're describing someone eating a cheeseburger, and this isn't the only time someone in America has eaten a cheeseburger. Like, it's like, yeah, of course. Like, what do you mean to say? Like, you're saying that there's actually few, but there's more than one? Like, there's a lot.
This was the cheeseburger.
For the audio audience, Mike is pointing to our gaudy templates and the cheeseburger that's behind him. I like this gaudiness. I like it.
Yeah.
We've had some complaints in the comments about our glasses. We switched them up. We don't have our rainbow sunglasses on now.
Yeah.
But I will agree that, like, the augmented reality isn't really there. I actually want to get like props instead and like have like real life shit rather than
Muppet it. Make it like the Muppets. Don't CGI. We gotta go
just
classic
have
fucking effects.
So my face won't even be on screen. It'll be my puppet, and like my hand will be inside the puppet.
Yeah, we should just try it. I don't even know if it works.
Gimmicks will get you everywhere.
Okay, so we got the racial draft, and we're doing the show with puppets from now on.
Yeah. I mean, so going on with critical theory, this is one of the reasons why I think organizations like this are ridiculous. Because although it's like somewhat taboo, we know scientifically that, when critical theory, when it was being developed, we didn't know scientifically that there were differences between groups that would result naturally.
Because there was no like evolutionary psychology that existed, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is why it's kind of ridiculous on the face. And what makes it even more funny is that the state doesn't want you to. The state wants you to have their position and have this kind of like, oh, there are no there are no natural differences between groups. It's all due to social factors. The state wants to hear that. They don't want to hear arguments to the contrary. Fortune 500 companies do not want to hear arguments to the contrary. The CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, does not want to hear arguments to the contrary. Silicon Valley does not want to hear arguments to the contrary. Yeah. Hollywood, all major media conglomerates do not want to hear arguments to the contrary. And Antifa will beat you on the street for making arguments to the contrary. So, in a sense, Antifa is vanguards to everything they despise.
Yeah. I mean, like the entire capitalistic system is built on that, right?
Yeah. I mean, John Locke, right?
Yeah, you have a chance to design your own destiny, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand though if you are Antifa and you think everything is almost deterministic by the environment around you, how do you even get to the position where you'd have these thoughts? Like, why is your society so oppressive? Like, why it's so oppressive, it controls every aspect of your life and keeps you down, but it allows you to think all this stuff and then like go spread it through the world?
Well, they're neo. They're neo.
Yeah, but they're all neo. Like everyone's neo. Like the thing about neo is
some of them are Morpheus, some of them are Trinity.
Yeah, they're all in the Resistance, eh?
Exactly.
This is fucking. It's the thing is too. They're never gonna be satisfied, right? Like they'll always have to find. They've got this kind of personality type where they always have to stick up for the little guy.
Well, whenever there's inequality, yeah.
Yeah, so like if you're one of the things they said, like, oh, you need to look for KKK. If the KKK has a rally,
God,
like
yeah.
you need to have a counter calorie.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like,
And this is people in like Eugene, Oregon, Portland, Oregon.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
you're
yeah.
you're gonna need to travel 1,000 miles to meet 3 people gathering at a house basement that are having a meeting such as that.
yeah, they'll be like the KKK meeting will be like one family, and they'll all be in Kentucky, and it'll be like a barbecue or something.
Yeah, yeah, and it'll be a private event.
It'll be a private event. Yeah, they're not going to go in public and fucking demonstrate, and or like. So if the KKK is not there and the neo-Nazis aren't there, then they're obviously going to have to, look for someone, and then that's how you get like Brett Weinstein getting fucking shouted down, right? Because that becomes their KKK. This is the guy. This is
Yeah.
my chance.
Yeah.
Now is my fucking chance to stand up for freedom.
Mike, what did they call him recently? Spicy white or something like that? It's like he's like
I
he's
don't
like
know. I
he's
know
like
about this.
he's like you're
Spicy
complaining about white people, but I'm Jewish, and my people have been oppressed by white people. And he's like, man, you spicy white.
That's nice. That's fucking nice. I like. Well, he's friends with Andy Ngo too, and I'm pretty sure Andy Ngo is doing the book tour on his pod. He's been on the Dark Port.
I mean,
Dark
they're
Horse
all of the
podcast.
same ilk, and that's another thing that I would say of this book is that in many areas, Andy Ngo will highlight. It'll be like, and the victim of this attack was black. And the primary, the people who are having the worst outcomes based on these situations are black. And then he goes on this huge tangent at the end of his book about his how his family immigrated.
Vietnam.
Yeah, it's like 2 chapters long or something. It was like I was just zoning out.
I thought it was like, am I reading a different book or
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What the fuck happened? What does this have to do?
But it's
He's
just-
talking about like his family being in fucking concentration camps in South Vietnam after the war.
And I would say that this is what kind of removes the teeth from his book, is that there's a sense to me that he's saying, well, Antifa are the real racists, and what's great about America is its immigration policies, and like that seems to be the kind of undergirding of the book. You don't agree?
Yeah, I think it's more along the Jordan Peterson lines of like, hey, like Nazism is bad, but watch out for communists. They're also bad.
Yeah. And the reason that the communists are bad is because they're, negatively affecting black people, is what Andy Ngo is putting forward in his book.
No, it's not. It's not just that. It's like
Well, one of them.
If these people come to power, they're immediately going to be tyrannical and like out all the people that were wronging them and try to fucking step on the throats of anybody they see as a danger. And like, I mean, it's true. It's totally true.
Yeah,
That's what happens.
Perhaps I was being a bit, laser focused on it. I just think when things like that are when if you try to, and people do this, if you try to make an argument that Joe Biden is more racist than Trump, and that's why Trump is better. Maybe you've got other reasons why
Joe Biden's better.
Yeah. But like you've got various reasons why Joe Biden is better than Trump, and then or rather Trump is better than Joe Biden, and then you throw in Trump is less racist than Joe Biden. You're gonna lose. You're not gonna win that argument. Like
I see. It's Turning Point USA, right? It's Candace Owens. It's I mean, I bet they're eating up this fucking black unemployment number stuff right now.
Who, like Jordan Peterson?
Well, Turning Point USA kind of guys.
Oh
Rob
God,
Smith
yeah.
and stuff.
Well, I mean, Jordan Peterson
Candace
is somewhat
Owens.
in the same boat, but
Jordan Peterson, I don't really think fits in that. He's more like on his. I just got off of some fucking drug addiction.
He's
and I'm
less.
trying to sell
He's
another self-help book.
he's much less of a partisan.
He's much less of a partisan, and he's more like he's got this like Tony Robbins fix your life kind of deal going on, right? Like he's much more of like a publicly motivational guy than he is a political pundit guy.
Not to nitpick, but like Charlie Kirk is like that too. Except he's like, free market capitalism will fix your life, and the Republican Party is like,
Kirk is like, if you're black, the only real problem you have is you don't have enough free market capitalism.
democratic policies. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you're black, what you really need in your life, you don't need a loan. You don't need to start your own business. You don't need to get educated. What you need to do is vote for the guy who's going to get rid of the EPA because they're the real problem.
Yeah.
We need less regulation on immigration and more regulation on the border control.
Now, Mike, going back to that Yahoo article, it kind of summed up the book. It said, I'll repeat, Unmasked will do no more to help Americans understand Antifa than Borat helped us understand Kazakhstan. It is simply a cudgel for Trumpists to swing whenever they need to obscure their own complicity in events like the Capitol riot, which even Ngo was forced to admit had not been conducted by Antifa. Mike, I actually kind of agree with Yahoo News.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay, go on. I think Andy Ngo did a good job of kind of summing up what's been going on over the past 4 years, who Antifa is, how they work, like where their structural roots come from. I thought
Well-
it was a pretty good kind of like autobiography of Antifa.
What do you define as a good job?
Well, I mean,
You think
if,
it's true? You think it's true?
Yeah, I think for the most part, most of the coverage he did is pretty correct. No.
No, I don't think so. So I mean,
Oh, really?
he did cover a lot of things that I hadn't looked into too much previously, and it was kind of funny looking at various idols in, let's say, the BLM movement, and like you go into their recent past, and it's like drive-by shooting with the same gun that they were like pinned as like pointing at the cops like when they got shot, and like all these rapes in front of people's kids and stuff like that. It's kind of funny when he does that. But he does get into a couple things, and one of them I do know a little bit about. In fact, when this story was hot, I was kind of hot on it. Another situation where I wish we had a podcast because we could have done a good episode. But Connor Betts, do you know who that is?
No, I don't know who Connor Betts is.
So he is known by people on the right as like the Antifa shooter. He shot up a bar. Oh, I don't remember exactly where it was. Let me look up real quick. He shot up a bar in Dayton. It was a mass shooting. He shot a lot of bullets, killed 9 people and injured 17 others. Now, if you went to this guy's social media, he was very vociferously Antifa. He was very, very much Antifa, very, very much. Let's word it in their words, against anti-white supremacy. Now, this guy killed a whole ton of people, injured a bunch of people, and he was Antifa. And Andy Ngo, in his book, frames this as an Antifa shooting. This guy was not motivated by his political beliefs in this shooting. He shot up these people because he had a fucking screw loose, and he was crazy. And this was not it was obviously not a political shooting. I think his fucking sister was part of this crowd. Like, it was like, he was crazy. It was personal. And he was a nutbag. It wasn't like some kind of Ted Kaczynski. I've thought this out, and I'm doing this for these reasons.
Yeah. And I've heard like David Pakman criticize Andy Ngo in a similar light, saying he just makes stuff up sometimes.
Yeah.
And, like misreports facts, or like he'll be hanging out with Patriot Prayer, who apparently is like trying to get violence done, and he just doesn't report on it apparently.
So in true radical centrist form, Mike, I agree with Yahoo News, but I also agree with you in a sense when you say that this is a good book, because when Connor Betts did this shooting, immediately what was in the headlines, what was trending all across Twitter, was white supremacy. It was another white guy shooting up some people. It was like, wow, we really need to. And then when it came out that this guy was Antifa, everybody just shut up. And I think actually Andy Ngo talks about that in the book as well. And you'll see this time and again. The framing and the ungenerous and just with complete political bias, the coverage that he has for the Connor Betts story is the coverage that you get on the other side for everything all the time. To me, it's kind of like fighting fire with fire. It's like, well, if that's the game, then let's play. And like, then I will say that Andy Ngo is doing a good job. I would not want to be doing all the research that he did. And all these murders, assaults, lootings, the crazy amount of crime associated with this is awesome to have this documented by ostensibly a journalist who, to my eye, I kind of agree with Yahoo News. He's got the same amount of ridiculous bias, the same amount of like, wow, this is not the truth that I'm getting. But at least it's on the other side. It is, it's kind of a David versus Goliath, but it's the same rules of fighting.
Yeah, and he also is like he wouldn't have the success if he wasn't this gay Vietnamese kind of immigrant, right? Like if he was Vincent James or something, like nobody would care. Nobody would fucking listen to him, right?
Yeah. Also that he toes like kind of he doesn't defer from any kind of mainstream worldview. Like when he talks
Yeah.
about what he likes about America, when he talks about why he thinks Antifa is bad, this is not anything unpalatable to the mainstream. It's just
Yeah, he's got that Dave Rubin-esque guy.
Yeah.
Liberalism is about freedom of speech and
Exactly.
thought and the ability to find your own destiny.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. He's a radical centrist. Like he's not right wing. It's so strange that he's painted as this like right
Yes.
wing, far right.
Yes,
wing
especially with everything we just said, how he sees the world, how he frames the world, even in his own book, and what's great about America and everything in his eyes, that he's framed that way.
Do you think he's a grifter?
I would need to watch more. There's a couple interviews. In fact, oh god, I want to pull one up. There's a couple interviews where he's got strange facial twitches. Strange.
Okay, well, first of all, can we talk about his fake
Okay,
British
yeah, 'cause
accent?
I don't want to bring it up. Okay, so you think it's a fake British accent?
Yeah, I think it's a fake British accent because how does a Vietnamese guy who grew up in Portland have a British accent?
When did he move to Portland?
From England?
No, because I know I'm legit working with people right now that have British accents that have spent no time in the UK. It's just that when they were in their home country, so to speak, they were taught via received pronunciation.
I know a lot of Indian men like
Yeah.
that who are like Indian, but they speak with a British accent. Their English
Exactly,
is
yeah.
British English. Yeah. Or even like rich kids who went to elocution school as a child or something. I mean, maybe David Pakman. I haven't looked into it, but I saw David Pakman saying that if you look at older interviews with Andy Ngo, he doesn't have the accent.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, like David Pakman, I'm not his biggest fan, but I don't think he would blatantly tell a lie like that. Like,
All right,
that's
keep
something so
talking,
easy
Mike.
to
I'm
look
gonna
up.
pull up old and new, and we're gonna
Yeah.
investigate. Keep talking.
So I've also seen Sargon of Akkad address this, and his basic point of view is, oh well, Andy Ngo is obviously somebody who's like in love with European culture, and so he just wants to emulate the European accent, the British accent, to be closer to that.
Oh, so when you search on YouTube, you can go like newest first, but you can't go oldest first. That's unfortunate. I'll just scroll down really far if you want to keep talking.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe someone's posted something like Andy no British accent or something like.
Okay,
I'm not
maybe
sure
yeah,
if
maybe I'll
people-
search that real quick too.
But it's got like I cannot be the only person in the world who notices this. I mean, I know I'm not the only person who notices this because David Pakman just talked about it. But it does seem to me like he's purposely choosing it as an affectation in the same way that Sean King purposely chooses to have his hair cut that way and wear that mustache and those particular lenses.
I'm not
Those
seeing
glasses.
anybody covering at least as the main topic his accent, so I'm gonna keep scrolling down and find.
Have you also seen? This is kind of like a funny side note. Have you seen that viral video that he talks about in the video in his book, where there's just some random Asian guy walking around and they're like, "Fuck you," and he's like, "Do you think I'm Andy Ngo?" And the
Yeah,
guy's like-
yeah.
He's like, "I'm not Andy Ngo. Would you fuck off?" It's like the third time this has happened today.
Funny enough, Mike, on YouTube, if I search his name, there are no results appearing less than a year ago. They all start after the attack, which we didn't even mention, which is kind of the intro to his book. It's what starts his story. He was a journalist covering Antifa, and the people that he was involved with in journalism were telling him, this is a dead-end street. Then he decided to stick with it. He got attacked, and it just spurred him further. And the attack is kind of like what he describes as driving him. But I'm sorry, Mike. I cannot find older videos than the attack.
Well, maybe it's true. Maybe that's his real accent. I find it curious.
Do you have anything else to say about the book? Because I actually don't have much else to say myself.
Sorry, some guys just driving by here, so if you hear some background noise.
No worries.
Yeah, I mean, would you recommend it? Like, did you enjoy the book?
For the reasons that I stated, I think it occupies a deserved space in public consciousness. As far as enjoyability of reading, it wasn't bad, but I'm shocked that it's doing as well as it is on a site like Amazon. In fact, I think that's probably largely driven by political bias of the people who are buying it and reviewing it. I don't think it's that great. It's not bad though. It's not a bad book. It just some of the reviews described it. Oh, maybe I should actually get into some of the reviews that mainstream. Oh no, I did want to get into something else actually. Okay, okay. Where? Oh wait, no, this is on my phone. Yeah. So it's just kind of funny. It's kind of a meme to point out hypocrisies between right and left in, the culture. But I'm not going to avoid it. I'm going to run head first into it. So, Amazon sells the book. And I'm not talking about Andy Ngo's Unmasked. I'm talking about Antifa, Anti-Fascist Handbook by Mark Bray. So I'm gonna pull that up. That's on Amazon right now. This handbook. I'm gonna pull that up on Amazon. Sorry for the delay, folks. I had taken notes earlier in the day on my phone and forgot to transfer them over to my computer. So this book is doing pretty well on Amazon too. 4.5 stars. I am going to pull that up for the viewing audience as well. And if we look at some of the reviews, yeah, this is what I wanted. I wanted some of the mainstream stuff. So, as it says in the title, this is the handbook for Antifa. Let's go with the Washington Post. Insurgent activist movements need spokesmen, intellectuals, and apologists. And for the moment, Mark Bray is filling in as all three. The book's most enlightening contribution is on the history of anti-fascist efforts over the past century, but its most relevant for today is its justification for stifling speech and clobbering white supremacists. This is from the Washington Post. We've got the New Yorker. Focused and persuasive. Bray's book is many things. The first English language transnational history of Antifa, a how-to for would-be activists, and a record of advice from anti-fascist organizations past and present. It goes on. There is no shortage of mainstream reviews of this, and it's funny, when we started off our episode, we looked at the mainstream coverage of this number one Amazon bestseller.
4 Google pages deep, and you get one review from a mainstream publication.
Yeah. So Amazon is the company that shut down Parler. Amazon Web Services refused Parler, the conservative alternative to Twitter. They shut that down. Amazon bans books critical of transgender theory, like recent bestseller When Harry Met Sally. Amazon...
And Harry became Sally.
Is it became Sally?
Yeah, it's a play on When Harry Met Sally, the movie.
I wrote it down wrong.
Yeah, all right.
Amazon bans books by David Duke, George Lincoln Rockwell, American Renaissance, books by Rouge V, books by Countercurrents, all books that would be seen as kind of fringe right, far right. You could say it's the mirror image of the far left that is the Antifa Handbook. In 1998, when Amazon was an ambitious startup, Jeff Bezos said, "We want to make every book available, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Customers' reviews," he said, "would let truth loose." In 2010, defending a guide to pedophilia, Amazon said it believes it is censorship not to sell certain books simply because we or others believe their message is objectionable. Right now, we've got Dr. Seuss books getting banned off Amazon. Maybe that's a story we'll get into later, Mike.
Yeah. I think that's not 100% true, but go ahead.
It's eBay
They're
is
not getting banned off Amazon like the
eBay.
company
No,
that
I
publishes
said
it.
eBay. I said eBay.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But so we've got two sides of a political spectrum. That's kind of how it's divided in the United States. You could argue and say like, wow, it's it's 3-dimensional, it's 4-dimensional, it's whatever. But
Yeah.
more or less within the United States proper, we've got two sides. We've got right, left. We've got the far left. We've got the far right. The far right is getting banned left and right. The center right or centrist, radical centrist, you could say of Andy Ngo, is not even getting reviews. You've got the anti-fascist handbook, and there is no, it's not even this is not banned, but you've got the New York Times, you've got the New Yorker, you've got the Washington Post, you've got the San Francisco Chronicle, you've got all of these organizations giving glowing reviews to it.
Well, I think. Go ahead. Did you have like a bow to put on that, or is that your point?
I don't think it needs a bow. I think if you walk outside, you are the bow.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? So, like in the history of the United States and Canada and basically the West, they've kind of had trouble with the far right wing in the past, and like there is no history of communist takeover in those countries, and so they're not really worried about it. Like maybe with the exception of Germany or something, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make sense for American citizens to be overly concerned with communism because they haven't had any problems with it, really. Like,
That's kind of ridiculous. That's like, oh, we just opened up a nuclear power plant in Baltimore, but we have no history with nuclear fallout, so why have any safety protocols?
exactly. Well, not have no safety protocols, but it's like you're in general, you'd be more open to using nuclear power if you'd never had any problems with it in the past. Whereas a country that had problems with it, be like, well, let's not do that again. I think the mainstream. I think you and I look at these things because we're kind of ahead of the curve on this, where we're like, man, this is a big problem. Like, it's not good to have these fucking crazy radical leftists running around punching people in the fucking face. This is weird. Why aren't left wing people standing up against this kind of violence? It's surprising to us, but I think for like most people who are not really deep into the news or deep into politics, I think they're just so unfamiliar with it that it's not on their radar at all. And that's why.
Plus, they listen to the mainstream that is openly sympathetic in many cases.
Yeah, but I mean, even so, I mean, who is the mainstream news journalist? Like, they're just regular dudes who go to fucking college, right?
They're regular dudes. I wouldn't call them regular dudes. In fact, the polling would suggest otherwise as well, as far as their opinions and their ideologies are concerned.
Yeah, you might be right on that one, actually. If you like pulled them on regular, yeah, they're like more sympathetic to like elites, and they're more sympathetic to like
They're
living in
ideologues.
big cities. They're rich. They're probably majority from like I don't know, different groups of demographics than represent the country.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like from a consumption point of view, though, in America, like the people who consume the news are not overly concerned with this, and so it doesn't sell, and that's why the stories don't get printed.
I guess if I were to put I mean, I think the larger bow is walking outside of your front door, but if I were to put a podcast bow on it, I think it's kind of funny that at the very least, what is framed as the far left and Andy Ngo's Unmasked, if you give it any credibility, which is Antifa, you've got the Antifa Anti-Fascist Handbook receiving glowing reviews from mainstream media, still allowed on Amazon, and Andy Ngo's critique of this book is about as far right as you're going to get on Amazon.
What's the anarchist cookbook like on Amazon? Can you even get it on Amazon?
Well, anarchist is kind of somewhat aligned with Antifa, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would be a good kind of temperature taker of
Yeah.
this situation.
In fact,
I
it's
think.
funny enough. It looks like you can get it on Amazon.
Really?
I'm seeing a couple results. Yeah,
That's fucked.
it must be censored because I downloaded a version of this back in the day, and like they had instructions on building pipe bombs and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like there's no way Amazon can disseminate that information to the general public without getting in trouble.
And I would be absolutely. I would be more disturbed than I already am if some of the books that Amazon bans have been banned, while the anarchist cookbook that allows you to
Just like re-edit it.
Yeah.
So they're like, when you're building your pipe bomb, remember to buy a cell phone from your local cell phone and put that in. Use that as the timing mechanism.
Yeah.
Make sure you sign up for a full internet plan and email the government. Email this website.
If you run into any problems, ask Alexa for solutions.
Alexa is a fantastic resource for building pipe bombs. Here's our hotline. It's 1-800-FBI-1234. I mean,
well, that's another thing. That's another thing that I wanted to say. You brought up the FBI. I feel like, so I brought it before. We've got Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, who is doing these dastardly things. He is denying the public the findings of the autopsy that is pivotal to the direction of certainly America and the way that mass media and social media operates. I would say the West at large. Is denying us key information to a news item that is directing our society. I think that we could have a bipartisan effort to defund the FBI, to defund the CIA, to defund the Pentagon.
That's fucking true. That's so true. Because it's like, what's the reasonable extension of defund the police? Like, defund the FBI.
So
defund.
I would much more quickly get behind a movement like that.
Fuck, man. Can you imagine like ISIS jumps on board? They're like, yeah, defund the CIA, defund those bastards, all the radical Muslims.
No, I mean, here's the thing. All these twisted experiments on the national population will have to be curtailed, and maybe keep the focus on deterrence for domestic ISIS attacks and whatnot, but.
Well, I mean,
maybe not so much these fucking propaganda, like these at home propaganda, public relations campaigns. Like, let's curb those.
Well, I mean, if you have the standpoint that like maybe the police shouldn't have fucking tactical riot gear, maybe the police should be more like a public service that helps people, and they should be trained to like help people instead of just like chase people down and fucking throw them in prison, then it totally makes sense that you probably don't want to fund an organization that fucking spies on everybody and like tortures people and like that. And it's completely secretive and we know nothing about like what they're doing behind the scenes and shit. Like at least the police are held accountable for the most part. Like maybe you'd argue they're not held accountable enough if you're Antifa, but like at least they don't have the same kind
more
of
so than the
FBI
FBI.
does. Yeah, exactly. Like if you think the police are a problem, you must therefore also think the FBI is a huge problem.
And like when you start doing that, like you've got BLM and QAnon shaking hands. Like when is that ever gonna happen?
Gonna come out. Be like, hey man, let's all be fucking friends. Like let's take a break.
I'm not even joking. Like this is a bipartisan, grassroots, lower and middle class movement that is just waiting to happen.
Yeah, all right. Like you gotta see who the guys are who are gonna spearhead this, and then they're gonna go in your draft picks, man.
Oh yeah, shit. But who would spearhead something like that? Can you think of a single person?
Just go whisper in Rachel Dolezal's ear. Be like, hey, you ever think about this?
Yeah, check out our previous episodes for the new listeners. We actually have had some pretty key guests on. You might not know that, new listeners, but check out our catalog.
Maybe fucking Matt Drudge could spearhead that.
Heck no, man. Have you? I still log on. I still log on every day to the Drudge Report, checking it out.
Every day?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, who is going to spearhead this move? It's not going to be Alex Jones. Like, it can't be anyone on the right. It's got to be someone on the left that brings the right over.
No, it's got to be both sides. You need a handshake. I guess you need who would we get on the left? You need like Rachel. No, not even. I was gonna say Rachel Maddow, but she wouldn't. You need like what's Tupac Shakur's mom's name?
It's not. Is that Asiata Shakur? Is that her?
Yeah, I think so.
No.
Yeah.
Is that the
girl-
person that Andy Ngo is talking about in this book?
Yeah,
all
I
the
think
time?
so. I think so.
No way. No fucking way.
You're making me second guess myself. Let me check. Tupac
I was
Shakur.
actually thinking about that. So I was walking the dog this morning, and I'm like hearing this name Shakur, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's her.
there's no way. No, it's Afeni Shakur. Oh wait.
Oh wait, no, but she died in
American political
2016.
activist.
Yeah, but she died in
Black Panther-
2016.
No, I think this woman's name is Asiata Shakur.
Okay, never
Let me
mind.
check.
I'm
Let me
glad to
check,
be
let me
corrected
check.
on that because that whole time I thought we were talking about Tupac Shakur's
Yeah,
mom.
it's a Sada
Okay.
Shakur, the social
Okay.
activist, former member of the Black Liberation Army, blah, 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 blah. FBI, 2 million, 73 years old, still alive.
Okay, how about this, Mike? How about this, Mike?
Small.
How about this, Mike? Listen, how about this? We get to spearhead the hashtag defund FBI movement. We get
Yeah.
Sam Cedar and Richard
Sam
Spencer.
Jimmy Dore can come too. Sam Cedar and Richard Spencer.
The dynamic duo.
Oh my
you
God.
can't get a duo that is more dynamic than that.
You cannot. They're quite dynamic. They're fucking aerodynamic, those motherfuckers. Fly. Oh my God. Fly the U.S. into a fucking building. Holy shit.
All right, so it's funny because I was wrapping up the book before, but so I've unleashed all my ammo. I've unloaded all my clips. Do you have anything else to say about the book?
No, I mean, I kind of agree with you, I guess. Lukewarm review. Definitely not a bad book. I definitely will be interested to see where this guy's career goes now because I did not expect to hear that was blowing up on Amazon.
Number one
And-
bestseller.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get a lot of attention from people saying like, what the fuck? Why is the mainstream media not covering this? Like, this is the book they don't want you to know about.
You know what's kind of crazy though? I mean, we did our book review of The Drudge Revolution by Matthew Lejak, also a friend of the show, guest on the show. And that book was doing balls. That book was like, number 500, 600, 700 on the charts. And it was a way better book. Like we both really liked that book. It was
Yeah.
I would go so far to say it's objectively better. I guess that Andy Ngo has just picked up on a more hot button issue, more topical issue, more controversial issue.
Well, I think there's that space for the lukewarm right. If you're the right kind of guy, and Andy, like he's just in the right place at the right time. You could have written that book. I could have written.
I love that you say that. He got his ass kicked in the streets. He got a brain hemorrhage. He got a milkshake dumped on his head. Right place, right time.
But it is totally the right place at the right time in the long run. Like look at over the last 10 years of his career. So he goes from like a late 20-something nobody to being a best-selling author. And if this incident doesn't happen, it's undeniable that this book is not as popular as it is.
Yeah.
He's got the credit. He's like, well, who the fuck does Andy know? Like, what does he know about Antifa? It's like, oh man, he's the guy. He's the guy that got fucking milkshaked, right? And Richard Spencer can't write this book. Richard Spencer can't be like,
Didn't Sargon of
I got
Akkad get
punched
milkshake too?
I think you're thinking Nigel Farage because you're thinking about those like British politicians. Like Nigel was one of the first guys.
Okay, so Sargon of
Did
Akkad got
Sargon
sardine.
may have
At the
been
very least,
milkshaked.
he got fish thrown at him. But
Did he get fish thrown at him?
yeah,
Well, that's kind of a funny thing. So they talk about this in the book too, where they're like, the left is. I remember this, where the left is like, "Come on, this is a milkshake. Like, why? How is this a big deal? Someone threw a milkshake at you. Like, what the fuck?" And like, we know Antifa's like walking around with like frozen water bottles so they can pelt them at people's fucking heads. But if someone stops them, they're like, "It's just a water bottle."
and these are the
What
same
you
people
talking
that
about?
say words are violence, and they're like, words are violence, but a milkshake on your head—that's fun and games.
Or like there's that TikTok going around where Trump's talking about the cans of soup. He's like, cans of soup. Everyone's got the cans of soup. They just say, "Oh, I'm hungry. I'm feeding my family." And then boom, they throw it at your face. And everyone's like, "That's so ridiculous. Like, who does it?" This is what they do. This is literally actually true.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that Antifa does. This is like they're purposely like What was the fucking quote you said? It's like, find out what weapons you can hold and
Yeah.
hold all of them.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
every
yeah.
single one, carry all of them everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, go to a fucking dojo and learn jujitsu. Like, go fucking learn every single martial art you can. And then in Andy Ngo's book, he's like talking about how they're training. And they're like, this isn't kickboxing. There's no rules. Like, learn how to gouge people's fucking eyes out. Like, learn if you poke someone in the eye, it does way more damage, like permanently to them, than if you punch them in the face.
I'm a little depressed right now, Mike, because I'm actually looking at some of the notes I had on my phone, and it's like, oh man, if I just so I've got like a media running cover for Antifa, like I've got just examples for that, and I could pull some of those up, but I feel like I've already done a little bit of that. But I've also got lawmakers. So you got lawmakers, and it would take me like 5 minutes or maybe even more to try to pull this up live. But there are lawmakers who say the Capitol siege, the Capitol riots on January 6th by right-wing protesters was domestic terrorism. You've got these same lawmakers saying that arson on courthouses by Antifa and BLM is not domestic terrorism, and they're pressed on why this is the case. It's like, well, I've thought a lot about it, and the difference is that it happened at night, so there was not active court proceedings happening, and they were not delaying any court proceedings.
Oh, can you imagine?
It happened
Oh
at
my
night.
God.
It happened at night. They didn't think it through long enough.
night.
If they just did it the night before.
At night. That's fucking ridiculous.
I don't know
You
what
know
song you were.
what
Yeah,
song
I
I'm
don't know what that was.
It's that fucking day and night. The Lonely
Oh, yeah,
Stones.
yeah.
He's
Kid
free
Cudi.
his mind at night.
Yeah.
At night. That's the theme song. And then just like flash to like Antifa at night burning down building. Fucking yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see for sure what happens in the next 4 years. Cause like Antifa is not gonna stop. These people do not like Joe Biden. They do not like Joe Biden at all.
No, there are images with them holding banners at rallies that say, "We don't want Biden, we want revenge."
Yeah, and like wasn't like the day he was inaugurated, the fuck Joe Biden riot was happening.
What? Tell me more.
Yeah, there was like people walking around with banners or spray painting it somewhere. Fuck Joe Biden. And there's even like left wing news personalities defending Antifa, being like, oh, the right wing always says, these are Joe Biden thugs. Like, let's hear what they have to say. And they're like, fuck Joe Biden. I hate that motherfucker. And they're like, who are you voting for? And they're like, I'm voting for nobody. I'm a fucking anarchist. Fuck this shit. Like we know these people exist in Antifa, The loudest voices in Antifa are people who are the furthest left people in Antifa. They don't like the government at all. They're anarchists. They're fucking anarchists. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Book review point of view. Would I recommend you read this book? If you've only got like one book you can read this month, or like $10 or $20 to spend on a book, I would say don't read this book. I would literally say go watch like Andy Ngo for free on the Dark Horse podcast or something, and just like literally every single thing he says in this book could be summed up in any like 1.5 hour interview, or you've got to the end of our podcast, you know enough about Andy Ngo now to know what his deal is, what his shtick is. If you're more interested, like if you've listened to this podcast and you're like, oh, this book sounds like interesting, this kind of stuff sounds interesting, then yeah, go read the book.
Also, it's good. It's good for Arsenal. Like when I actually didn't even know. Like, so there's a common refrain that there was like Brian Sicknick, and there was Dylan Roof's victims. There's all these victims of far-right violence, murder victims within the United States, but Antifa and far left never do anything. The amount of cases that he lists, like there was a chapter where it was like, oh my God, I actually didn't know about half of these, and I was reminded by things that I had totally forgotten about because they haven't been in the news. Meanwhile, you've got Dylan Roof, who is still like a name that will be brought up every once in a while in mainstream for I guess forever, yeah. But it's like, yeah, I actually do remember this guy who shot up, I think it was a Dallas police station, killed a bunch of cops and said it's because he wanted to kill white people. Oh yeah, I do remember that, but I haven't heard about that since it happened. Like, whatever it was, 3 or 4
Well,
years ago.
The other thing thought he was going to bring up, but he didn't. Maybe it's too conspiratorial. But you remember the Heather Heyer killing, the Charlottesville
Heather
girl?
Heyer, yeah.
Yeah, so like Antifa was there, and they were the ones responsible for taking down like the barrier that stopped cars from going into there, right?
No. What they did is they moved a barrier. So he was going to be going a different route, but they had blocked off any other streets that he could go. So he was forced to go down that street.
And then like weren't they like banging on his car and chasing him down and like
Well,
antagonizing him and stuff?
one professor admitted to having pointed a gun at him minutes prior, and then
It was the Professor Antifa though?
yes, and yeah, if you actually inspect the video, you can see multiple hits on his vehicle before he accelerates into the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so
Plus,
kinda
he was already urine soaked from having bottles of urine dumped on him earlier in the day,
yeah, so that's an anti. Well, I
and
mean,
now
I don't understand, like-
he's got multiple life sentences. There are people
they're
who
the-
there are people who rape people in front of their. In fact, there was a Black Lives Matter idol who raped someone in front of their kids, who was held up as a hero.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, I don't know. Like, what else can you say about that? I don't understand how people support these
It's
fucking
the
extremist organizations.
hypocrisy, Mike. That's what I don't respect. I don't
I
respect the
don't respect the
hypocrisy.
hypocrisy. You know, if you're gonna call it like it is, and play it fair on both sides. You
Yeah.
need to be totally justifiably liberal in every
I
situation.
don't like the extremists on the left, and I don't like the extremists on the right.
Yeah, well, or no, it'll be something like,
Well, look, we need to disavow the violence of Antifa. Obviously, violence is bad. Violence
Yeah.
is always bad, and we will never like violence.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. Antifa has never killed anybody.
Yeah.
Never. It's
And-
never happened.
And they're more racist than anybody ever talked to on the right.
That is totally not true, Jason. That's not true. Actually, what happens is the right-wing people just use it as a dog whistle. They pretend they're not racist, but really they're the real racists.
So they're more racist than the real racist. They're the fake racists initially, but the real racists they're more racist than. So secretly they're the most racist of all.
Yes. And that's bad. Racism is bad. I don't like racism.
All right,
Do you
I'm logging out of Reddit. I'm logging out of Reddit.
do you like racism, Jason? Is this a joke against racist people? Do you love racism secretly?
What do you mean secretly?
Anti-Ra doesn't have the same kind of ring to it as Antifa.
No, I actually like that more anti-raw. That actually
Anti-raw?
sounds awesome. Yeah,
Anti-racism.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe they should rebrand.
Even Antira.
Anti-Ra. Yeah, it sounds like a Japanese
I want
fucking robot.
to name a kid that Antira.
Anti-Ra. Anti-Ra.
That's
Well,
not
there's my
bad,
girl,
actually.
Antifa and my boy Anti-Ra.
Antira.
Yeah, there you go. So
Do
I don't know.
you have anything for the grab bag? There's been lots of stuff going on in the news lately, but I haven't really compiled anything myself. You were putting up a little fuss earlier when I said that eBay banned sales of Dr. Seuss books. What's the fuss
yeah.
about? It's true.
Yeah, so I heard that the publishing company that makes those books decided to stop publishing.
Yeah. But independent people
Certain
who want to exchange their books for money on eBay are not allowed to do so.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard about this. So this is true. This is the news. Like
Yeah.
eBay won't let you sell a copy now.
Yeah, it's against their terms of service. And you know what's so funny about this is that Dr. Seuss is an original Antifa.
Isn't he one of the original anti-Semitics? Because I was reading that like he was painting pictures in college of like Jewish people with stereotypical accoutrements, let's say.
Okay,
Facial
so
features,
he painted, I guess, Asian people accurately in caricature form. He painted Jewish people accurately in caricature form, and I guess that makes him
Yes.
racist. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what I read. That is, it wasn't phrased that way, but yeah, that's what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, like all those old Disney cartoons, they're super racist, right?
Oh yeah, man. Like you've got that crow that dances like he's shucking and jiving like a you know, an NE like
NGO.
yeah, an NGO.
Andy Ngo. I've never heard anybody pronounce it Andy Ngo. Have you?
I think I have actually.
You think in high school they're like, "Yo, what's up, my Ngo?"
I feel like, I mean, I haven't listened to enough, but I feel like the proper pronunciation is actually Andy Ngo.
Oh yeah, yeah, hey, that sounds like it might be a thing. Yeah, grab bag. I don't know, man. It was a rough week, trying to get this book. Did you want to retouch on our Bitcoin predictions? Like, have you been following all that stuff lately?
Not at all. I've heard a little buzz, and it just makes me seem like a god based on our previous conversations.
Yeah. So originally, when I was like, Bitcoin's a huge bubble, it's gonna pop. It's gone way up since then. Like, I think it was at like
Jason for the win. Jason for the win.
40,000. It hit something like 60,000. On its way back down now, and it's kind of like waving. I still think it's gonna go down below 10 this year, but I sold out everything I had. I'm not fucking around with that shit anymore. Yeah, I'm done. Like, so Canada actually just announced that they're going to do a fiat backed cryptocurrency, and it's out now. The Canadian dollar has its own cryptocurrency.
Really?
They've also got like security exchanges you can buy that are tied to Bitcoin.
What's it called?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I've always said this, like, so if you knew about Bitcoin before I did, and you know all the good arguments to have Bitcoin, like why it's good, why it's positive. But I think, like, if you have a crypto that's tied to the Canadian dollar in Canada, why would you ever use Bitcoin to pay for anything? Like, you're gonna sit down for fucking lunch, and you're not gonna know what to pay for it by the time the fucking lunch is over.
Yeah, I mean, I would need to look into the details. Is it still anonymous? Like, what? I don't know what the details are.
Yeah, so it's not really anonymous. That's another problem with Bitcoin anymore. So, like, it's supposed to be anonymous. Originally, that was like one of the great fucking things about it. It was anonymous. But now there's just so many people watching the wallets. Like, you can follow where the money goes from wallet to wallet to wallet. The technology exists now so that you can trace exchanges and then find out when they come on an exchange. And then the exchange, like, in order for you to get money out of exchange, you have to give them your ID.
So
you can't just.
I at this point, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I would suggest right now, while it's kind of relatively silent, invest in Privacy Coin, invest in Monero, because they are much more superior on those fronts. And if people are cracking down on different ways to track Bitcoin, I would think that's a somewhat safe bet. But Mike, I want to bring this to your attention and the viewing audience's attention. We were talking about. Well, I don't want to change the subject too early. Did you have more to say about crypto?
No, that'll be good. The other thing I want to say is we're talking about. We had our guest Kunal on to talk about the great Wall Street Bets debacle.
Yeah, shout out to Canal, shout out to Subject Matter Pros. He featured us on their podcast. I hope that performed okay. I know it was a little different than his average podcast is concerned.
Yeah, so I didn't know. I just found this out today. Did you know that fucking Martin Shkreli, the farmer boy, is one of the moderators on Wall Street Bets?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, so I mean, like, hey man, you like Wall Street Bets and the things they're putting out there? They're the guys of the people, right? This is the subreddit of the financial institution that is the average Joe. And who is spearheading this? Martin Shkreli, the guy, just everyman, Martin Shkreli.
Being a moderator is not something that's so important on Reddit.
I mean, it's like if you're a moderator, depending on the subreddit you're on, it's very fucking important, man. Like, you basically control the information. Like, if you're the moderator of r/news, like, you're more powerful than Matt Drudge right now.
Go fuck yourself. That's not true at all.
Man, what are you talking about? Like, you can have a fucking story come up and just fucking cut it for any reason you want. If you're a moderator there, you can suppress news easily.
Okay, if you were the only moderator and then there was no oversight, then I still wouldn't even grant you that. I would like to look at the analytics of r/news versus Drudge Report. Drudge Report is still extremely powerful. I'm shocked that you're making this claim, but I also know for a fact that the moderators on r/news, there's not just one, there's many of them, and they are all looking at their own and each other's decisions.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They're all fucking circle jerking each other and like collaborating
It's
together.
it's a community. It's community based.
It's an oligarchical community, right? So, like, if the kind of people you have in r/Wall Street Bets let Martin Shkreli in, they're not going to be the same kind of people that care about what happens to the average person in terms of their financial stakes.
I guess I don't know. Like I'm more familiar with Shkreli than the average person. I mean, I feel like a lot of our listeners don't even know who Shkreli is, but like I'm not well equipped to go into him. He's a complicated character, complicated in how the space that he occupies in our culture. So I mean, if you want to get into him, feel free to. But I just don't know if all our listeners will know who he is.
Maybe we'll touch on another episode. Like, definitely research required. Definitely interesting stuff. That Wu-Tang Clan album that he bought was fucking crazy. And then he dropped it on Periscope.
Yo, explain things to people who don't know. So he bought a unreleased Wu-Tang Clan.
Wu-Tang Clan put it on an album, and they're like, okay, we're only gonna sell one fucking copy. And he was the guy that bought it, and he's like, nobody's allowed to hear it but me.
Yeah.
And then I think it was actually something related to Bitcoin or something. He was like, if Bitcoin hits like a 10,000, I'll play it for everybody. And he did on Periscope.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you can go on YouTube and just YouTube like Martin Shkreli playing the Wu-Tang album.
Did you listen to any of it?
Yeah, I did. And I think subsequently, after he got arrested, it was one of the things they took away from him, and you can get it now.
Oh shit! Was there any good tracks?
Yeah. It was a huge disappointment. Let's just say that.
Have you heard any of the new Jim Jones songs? He released an album a week or two ago.
No, I haven't.
He released it with fuck is that guy's name? It's like Freddie.
Wait. Is this the? Yeah, I think I have heard this album where it's just like talking about how terrible Donald Trump is and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's talking about how like Black Lives Matter and like yeah.
It's.
But like I listened to it once all the way through, and I remember thinking multiple times, I'm like, yo, this is a hot song. But yeah, he's always like, yo, Trump in office, what we gonna do, and like all that stuff. But there are some appealing tracks on it. Content aside,
man, the fucking what is it? Heat makers, beat makers, those crack beats or whatever it's called.
It's like Eddie Fraud or something.
Music.
The fuck? It's like Eddie Fraud.
Well, whoever's producing for him is fucking amazing, and Diplomats has always been that way, man. Diplomats has always had the hottest fucking beats since like Swiss beats, I guess, but like
Harry Fraud.
Harry Fraud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Fucking shout out to Jim Jones, friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show. Maybe we'll get him on one day. Oh my god.
The show, we'll get on.
So, Mike, I wanted to bring this to your attention, and I wanted to bring this to the audience's attention. This is something about YouTube. So we were talking about black unemployment numbers earlier, and we talked about it in one of our episodes, and we actually put out a clip out there. It was called "The Cave of Time: Plan for Black America."
Yeah. I'm actually kind of fucking pissed off about this, to be honest.
Why is that?
Like, because I told you guys, you listen, dear black people, I fucking told you. I said, look, I know you don't like Donald Trump. I get it. Vote for him just once, just one fucking time, and the Democrats will spend the rest of their fucking lives trying to figure out what the fuck you did and how to make you happy. You didn't listen to me, and now what's happening? What the fuck is happening to you now? You're getting left behind.
And Mike, we do a YouTube search on the platform of which our video is hosted, and we search "Plan for Black America: Cave of Time." This is this is the number one hit. If it was just based on the wording, it's the number one hit. Obviously, the algorithms don't work that way. So we've got the number one. It's Yahoo Finance, friend of the show, Yahoo. We talked about them earlier. Talking about BET's founder doesn't like Joe Biden's plan to tackle inequality. Okay, fair enough. Let's scroll down about 20 videos. We've got GMM locked in a sensory deprivation tank. Okay, let's scroll down another 20 or so. We've got Rider University, History of Art, Survey 1, Lecture 1, From Caves to the Fertile Crescent. Let's scroll down some more. We've got Bitcoin. How to know when the top is in February 20. So our video does not show up anywhere in this search. Which Cave of Time actually does show up about. I guess that's about like 50 down.
Yeah, and that's probably only because you're subscribed to the Cave of Time.
Yes, because I'm logged into our channel too. That's actually probably has something to do with it. But I did because I feel like it's underappreciated. I think that we should watch. Do think that we should watch that video. It's not on the official channel. It's on Cave of Time clips. And I guess I'll send that to you too, so you got a quick link to it. Let me pause that and share.
So here it is. Here is my plan. Black people.
Okay, pausing that. I'm gonna send that to you in Telegram. So this was Mike's plan, and it was not followed. You ready to start that?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, starting now.
So here it is. Here is my plan. Black people, go get a pen, go get a fucking iPad, write this down, pay attention.
This is the plan. This is what you're talking before. This is it. Okay.
This
Wait,
is
do you want some music or anything?
Yeah. Throw on like a nice little background music.
Okay. Give it a little more preamble.
So black people, you have been trying to wonder when is our time gonna come? When is it gonna be time? We had a black president, we got nothing accomplished.
Okay.
We had 4 years of Trump. He promised he would change everything. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Can't trust the Democrats. Can't trust the Republicans. Can't trust the white man. Don't have enough black people to overthrow them.
Can't trust
We
the white
need
man.
to do something. What are we gonna do? I've got your fucking plan. Listen to me carefully. So black people, you need to all go out and vote for Donald Trump in the 2020 election.
Just a Donald
You
John.
need to get that number 30%. You need to get that number 40%. You need to get it 50%. And I know this sounds difficult, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is crazy. I hate Donald Trump. He's not going to do anything. I agree with you. You don't even have to think Donald Trump is going to change a single thing in your life. You can think that he might make your life hell for 4 years, and you still need to do this. So listen to me. Listen to me. You guys switch one election, just one. And this has to be the one, because this is the most like, what the fuck? How did Donald Trump win black people? This is the one where everyone's going to pay attention for the rest of history. So you switch one election, you get 30% of the black people to vote for Donald Trump. He does another 4 years, whatever. Whatever happens, happens. But what will change 100% is now every single fucking Democrat is going to be like, what the fuck? We don't have the black vote in the bag? We don't have black people locked 100%? It's not a sure thing we're going to win? Guess what they're going to do? Every single policy that comes up, does it make black people happy? Every single law that gets passed, does it make black people happy? Every single school budget, every single mayor race, every single tiny election, does it make black people happy? Does it make black people happy? Can we get them back on their side? Are they still with us? How do we keep them Democrats? And then at the same time, the Republicans are like, holy fuck, it actually worked. We actually got them to vote for us. More of this. We need to keep these people. We need to keep these black voters. We need to get more. We got 30%, maybe we get 100%. Like, what do we have to do to make black people happy so they vote for us? You become more important than the swing states. You become more important than the center. You become more important than the independent voters. Black people will be the issue du jour for 100 years, and you will be able to rule America.
So they didn't listen to you, Mike. And you know what? I will say that it's objectively true that at the very least, as far as unemployment numbers are concerned, they would be better off. The platinum plan, and that showed up in recommended videos for the live viewing audience, our coverage of the platinum plan. This did not receive enough mainstream coverage. I mean, Lil Wayne covered it a little, but this was something unlike Black America was ever offered in the entire history of the United States.
Yeah, and like, what are they getting now? Like, what are they going to get?
Rising unemployment rates.
Minimum wage?
Yeah, and relative, extremely rising unemployment rates.
Fucking hell. I mean, like, yeah, like Thomas Sowell's probably like, oh, I told you so. Well, when the $15 minimum wage comes in, who do you think is going to be most affected negatively? It's going to be the black man. I'm sorry, black people. I gave it to you on a fucking silver platter. I was like, this is your key to the fucking castle.
Why do you think
And
they?
you missed
Why,
it.
why do you think they rejected your advice, Mike?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to see. It's hard to be a visionary like I am. And it's hard to see into the future like only we can
So
on the Cave of Time.
Are you saying
Jason.
they're lower IQ than you?
No.
Okay.
I think that when you just like, I actually sympathize. Like I say in the beginning of that, like I understand. I hate Trump. I fucking hate it. It's just so counterintuitive for them. You just got to like sometimes to go forward, you got to go backwards, man. Sometimes,
okay.
like like you just got to fucking go
You
deep
gotta
into
Marty
the cave.
McFly it, yeah.
Exactly. And it's tough. It's fucking tough to do. And you're like, well, I don't know, man. I'm
Yeah.
going to be a social pariah. My whole family's going to hate me. It's like, they'll hate you. They will hate you. But in 4 years, you guys will be king. You will be king.
Mike, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you are the Christopher Lloyd of Black Lives Matter.
I am Christopher Lloyd. Oh, you gotta go back. You gotta go back and vote for Trump. You gotta do it for your kids, Marty.
We need Jim Crow again for the future.
Jim Crow, what are you talking about, Doc? We can't go to do Jim Crow. It's so racist. You gotta do it for your kids, Marty. You gotta do it.
Reboot of Black Lives. Oh, reboot of
Black to the Future.
Yeah, exactly. With Lil Wayne and Mike.
There's no.
Lil Wayne is Marty McFly. Mike is Christopher Lloyd.
I mean, we gotta go back. He like just mumble. Everything.
No, he's Marty McFly. You're Christopher Lloyd. You're the Oracle.
All the fucking time I'm a Doc. I'm going fucking back nowhere. It's just like wasted off a scissor, like you got that fucking like opening scene with the huge fucking like speaker there, and he goes in, he plugs the guitar in, he's like, and it blows it back, and then like he's taking off his glasses, like looking up, and there's just like a cup of scissor on the shelf, and he just grabs it and takes a sip, and he's
it's an 808 beat maker rather than a guitar.
Yeah, it's a guitar. Yeah, that'd be great. And then you're in the parking lot, and he's like, "Yo, Doc, do you steal motherfucking plutonium, man? What the fuck? Did you steal this from the Libyans?" Black to the Future, man. Black to the Future. Be great.
Man, I've had so many good ideas to be had if I had $1
There
billion.
must be a Black to the Future. It's probably porn or something, but there must be
God.
a movie called Black to the Future.
There has to be. There must at least be like a social media like tag that's Black to the Future.
Yeah, or like a fucking skit on Saturday Night Live
Mike,
or something.
There's Black to the Future TO.com. Is this actually Toronto? It is. Oh no. I don't know what this is. I'm gonna pull it up for the viewing audience.
I'll look it up.
Black to the Future TO.com. Black to the Future. Building leadership and organizational capacity of capital B Black, capital B Black led, or capital B Black serving nonprofits in Toronto through 3 initiatives. There's a summit. BTTF Summit focuses on delivering actionable training, best practice.
And I should be the fucking keynote speaker at this summit. I had the idea. I had the fucking idea.
You know this gets hella. Oh my god. They give out grants too. Yeah, these people obviously get hella money from the government. 50K grant allocated for 2020. Okay, that's not too much, but still 50,000. Yeah, you know these guys are getting government money.
There must be a huge incentive to conservatives to get black people in Toronto rich.
What?
Man, what are you talking about? Rich people are fucking conservatives. Like the number one thing they always have on the plate is like, well, you'll pay less taxes if you vote for us. And like, as soon as people make $150,000 a year, they're like, whoa, what the fuck? Government's taking fucking half of my money now? Fuck this shit. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, okay, I guess for economic conservatives, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not even just economic conservatives, because it's like, you'll be like, well, I don't like how they don't support Black Lives Matter, but I do want to buy the Lexus and not the Hyundai. I think I'm gonna go with that to lower tax plan. I think I'm gonna do it. You know what? I'm gonna do it. It's the sound. It's what's best for the country. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. I can't believe Black to the Future exists, actually. I cannot believe that we actually just stumbled across that.
Do you think it's a fucking like accident that all the black conservatives are fucking loaded? Like there's no not a lot of poor black conservatives, are there?
Well, I think it's kind of a cycle. Like we've said that I've said this before on episodes and previous podcasts. Like it is a way to make money. If you are black and you adopt, if you can recite rudimentary conservative talking points, you can make money.
Yeah, well, I mean, just to tie it all back, like that's kind of what Andy Ngo is doing a little bit. Whereas, why I asked you if he's a grifter, and you were like, "Meh." I mean, he's gay and he's Asian and he's an immigrant.
I'm not saying that he's benefiting from those things, but would you say Larry Elder is a grifter because he's benefiting from the same things?
Yeah, but well, I don't think he's necessarily like a grifter. Like I think he does actually hold the worldview that he claims to hold, but he wouldn't hold it if he did all the same things he did, but wasn't rich. Like, you know what I mean? Like if he was the hardworking black guy who worked 3 jobs and like trying his best and blah 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 blah. I'm pulling myself up by my bootstraps, and then only made like $45K a year. He'd be a Democrat.
Well, this isn't a Larry Elder episode, but I thought those were his beginnings. I thought that is what he did.
Yeah, no, he was, but he wasn't always conservative, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Because he talked about coming from a poor family, right? And his dad used to work 70 hours and they got in fucking fights all the time and blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
And then when he made up with his dad and he's like, why are you so mad? Fuck you, blah, blah, blah. And his dad was like, yeah, sorry, man. I was working like 150 hours a week. I'm sorry. I was in a bad mood all the time. And that's how he like made up with his dad, right? If that story is even true, I don't know. But I think it is. Like, I feel like Larry Elder is he is what he appears to be, I feel like, you know?
As much as anyone else is in the mainstream, I would think, yeah.
Yeah. My favorite Larry Elder clip is when he's the fucking doing that debate for the Libertarian Party. And it's like Gary Johnson and 2 other dudes, and they're like, Larry Elder's like, what do you guys think of driver's licenses? And the one guy's like, hell no. And then the next guy's like, a license to drive a car? What's next? A license to make toast in your own goddamn toaster? And then Gary Johnson's like, yeah, I think some competency might be a good idea when getting behind the wheel of a motor car. And everyone's like, boo! Fuck you! Get off the stage!
Yeah, it was exactly like that. I saw that too. Yeah,
it's exactly like that.
Yeah,
you're like, you tell people about that, and they're like, "No, that never happened. That's like a Saturday Night Live sketch." It's like, no, that actually happened. Oh.
You got anything else? Oh, you got something? Because I gotta run to the bathroom in like 5 minutes, but I think we should wrap up the show rather than take a bathroom break. So drop your your shit.
I got one nice little cliffhanger to leave with you guys. I think I shared it with you earlier today.
I don't remember any clips from you. Oh yeah, okay. Let me share that with the audience.
This just made me laugh.
Give me 20 seconds. So I'm gonna play this, yeah?
Yeah, read the tweet for the audio cast.
Okay. So, oh, geez. For the audio audience, the text in the tweet is: the Germans have found Islam. I repeat, the Germans have found Islam. Take cover. And we're gonna play the video right now.
Ready?
Das ist das Problem. Glauben Sie mir, das ist das Problem, dass wir nicht aufstehen wollen. Wegen diesen ganzen Feiglingen. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Takbir! 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 Deswegen müssen wir bereit sein, vor dem Pharao zu stehen, Brüder.
So we got a white guy with an Islamic beard on screen talking that shit.
All right, guys, that is it. Jason, you got the fucking outro lined up?
Yeah, I got it. Well, I had to restart my computer earlier, but I can get it lined up in like 5 seconds.
All right. Well, everybody, that has been the Andy N-word episode. Andy Ngo, Andy N-bomb, Andy Nice, also known as Andy Neh. And go read his book if you think you like it. If not, just listen to us.
Open an
what's up?
Odyssey account. Odyssee.
Oh, yeah,
It's hard. It's hard to spell that. It took me like maybe 10 times searching that till I finally got the spelling right in my life. Odyssee. Odyssey. Awkward spelling. That's where the future is. Hopefully for the Cave of Time live streaming podcast. We can't live stream there right now. They're setting up live streaming in the future. This is the future for free speech. You want to make an account, if for nothing else. Make an account. Don't even do anything. Just make an account. Take you 5 minutes, less, and you'll just give those people a little bit of energy, a little bit of, oh, we got 10,000 subscribers this week. We really got to get the ball rolling. It's already a decent platform. I already legit watch videos on there. I did it on BitChute before. I was very upset at the upload process from a creator standpoint on BitChute. I am very happy with the upload process on LBRY, which is kind of like the back end for Odyssey. I'm not going to speak any further. Get an Odyssey account. Subscribe to us, Cave of Time. Maybe I'll post a link in the description. There will be a link in the description. And until next time, it's the Cave of Time. Mike, what are your last words?
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Jason, thank you for coming out as always. And as you know, we need to go back. We need to go back, Marty. We've got to go back and save your kids from Joe fucking Biden. So join us next week as we take a deep dive into whatever the fuck is going on in subculture. Good night, everybody.
What
know. I think 2 songs were playing at the same time right there. I hope that wasn't too abrasive for the listening audience.
Fuck.
I'll listen to it in replay. Good night. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. I hope you didn't want to kill yourself while listening to that.